Quick question, are you aware of Kevin Hart and his Oscar controversy? If yes, you can skip to this time. If not, stick with me. For those who don't know, Kevin Hart is the most famous comedian in the world. You might know him from his stand-up, movies, YouTube, or even memes. In December of 2018, it was announced that Kevin was going to host the Oscars, which was also one of his lifelong goals. But as soon as this was announced, some people on Twitter digged through his profile and brought up some old offensive, particularly homophobic tweets from 10 years ago saying that he shouldn't host the Oscars because he never apologized for these tweets. I won't show the tweets here because it won't add any additional value to this video, but they can be summarized in two categories. First one is where homophobic slurs were used. Second was homophobic jokes which can be perceived in an offensive manner. Seeing the outrage, the Academy, basically the Oscar people, also gave Kevin an ultimatum whether he apologized or he would be removed as the host. In response, Kevin made two Instagram videos stating why he will pass on the apology. I'm showing the main part of both the videos in random order as they were uploaded on the same date.
My team calls me, oh my God, Kevin, the world is upset about tweets you did years ago. Oh my God. Guys, I'm almost 40 years old. If you don't believe that people change, grow, evolve as they get older, I don't know what to tell you. If you want to hold people in a position where they always have to justify or explain their past, then do you. I'm the wrong guy, man. I'm in a great place, a great mature place where all I do is spread positivity. The reason why I passed is because I've addressed this several times. This is not the first time this has come up. I've addressed it. I've spoken on it. I've said where the rights and wrongs were. I've said who I am now versus who I was then. I've done it. I've done it. The same energy that went into finding those old tweets could be the same energy put into finding the response to the questions that have been asked years after years after years. We feed in the internet trolls and we reward them. I'm not going to do it, man. I'm going to be me. I'm going to stand my ground. Regardless, Academy, I'm thankful and appreciative of the opportunity. If it goes away, no harm, no foul.
Few hours later, he did apologize on Twitter, saying sorry to the LGBTQ community for hurting them, and he is stepping down as the host because he doesn't want Oscars to be about himself. It should be a night celebrating people who won the awards, which makes sense. Some people didn't accept his apology, saying it wasn't sincere enough, maybe because of the Instagram videos he posted earlier. I personally think that Kevin's humor just evolved. When you think about it, over time you go to new places, meet new people, your perspective on so many things change. You become more aware of what is right and what is wrong. 10 years is a good amount of time to become a better person, and Kevin should be judged by what he represents today. Even if Kevin had directly apologized without making the videos, there's no guarantee he wouldn't face backlash. Two arguments that I can see coming in that case. First, what took you so long to apologize? Second, you're only apologizing because you're forced to. Internet is a tricky place. You can do everything possible and people will still find some way to cancel you. They want you to be perfect from the start, which is impossible, or at least have no mistakes on the internet, which is not impossible but very hard. Everyone is on the web and everyone makes stupid mistakes, which you can obviously delete, but it can still get recorded somewhere. For example, the tweets Kevin wrote are obviously deleted from his profile, but screenshots of it are still available online. All of this is obviously old news, but what intrigues me is that some decade-old tweets came between a person and basically their dream job. It got me thinking, what is the most messed up or toxic tweet I have written? I mean, there have been nights where I should have gone to sleep, but I didn't. Tweeting things like, well, Donkey fucking sucks. I stopped listening to that guy after he said that turn-based combat games are trash. Go back to League Wits, cunt. So I'm editing this video right now and I just realized that many people on the internet don't get jokes and references, especially when a big creator is involved. I just wanted to clarify that I don't hate Donkey and I didn't tweet this. Here is one of my original tweets. Bruh. We are going to use artificial intelligence because I've tweeted hundreds of tweets and manually going through all will be very boring and time consuming. Now AI is great at repetitive tasks but not so great at real world problems, especially when you don't know what you are doing.
See, this is what I'm talking about. Turn around, look at that. You see what I mean? It's plump, it's juicy, it's 3 inches thick. Now, Look at this sorry, miserable, squashed thing.
So the first thing is getting all my tweets. We can do it by requesting my data from Twitter settings. What you will get finally is the zip file containing all of these. Twitter has already made a web app to browse our data. Here you can see that I have 825 tweets. You can check them out here and filter them in any way you want. This is all great, but we only want the tweet data which is inside the data folder in tweet.js file.
This
Is the garbage known as my tweets. Don't worry if all of this doesn't make sense. This is simply a list of objects. Each object, let's call it tweet object, contains data of one tweet. Full text contains the actual tweet. Lang is the language it is in. ID is a unique identifier which will be different for every tweet. There are many more fields in each object, but these three are the only ones we need. Now my tweets are in two languages, English and Hindi, which is the language of India for those who don't know. My Hindi tweets are written with English alphabets. So for example, here's a sentence, मेरा नाम विनायक है, which has meaning in Hindi but it is written in English alphabets. When translated to English, this means my name is Vinayak. So this is my first challenge. Before analyzing the tweets, I will need to convert my Hindi tweets into English. After testing various translators, I found out that Google Translate is the best for my purpose, and I made an account on Google Cloud Platform to use their translation system. For translation, we can choose between three models. First is MNT, which is absolute garbage, as it cannot differentiate between English and Hindi because both of them are using English alphabets. Second is PBT, which is actually pretty good. 90% of the time it provides perfect translation. And third is AutoML, in which you create and train your own machine learning model. Basically you choose your source and target languages, provide dataset, train it, and finally use the model. Since I wanna be the very best, I went with AutoML. And while creating the dataset, I felt like a god among men, like something of a scientist myself. I felt like Madara Ujia entering the battlefield. Felt like the guy who created Frankenstein. I felt like drifting in the hills of Japan, delivering tofus for my father's tofu shop. Like I was the one creating Dyson Sphere, finally able to harness the full potential of sun, putting the world in an infinite simulation where evil doesn't exist. The truth is, I was on the verge of having an anxiety attack. I'm manually creating a dataset which requires thousands of records to train an efficient model, which may or may not require multiple training sessions, which may or may not be better than the current base model, for a YouTube video which may or may not get views, which may or may not convert into subscriptions, which may or may not lead me into depression, which may or may not turn into chronic alcoholism, which may or may not lead to liver failure, which may or may not be the very reason of my death. I think PBMT model is fine, 90% success rate is awesome. After translation, for analyzing our tweets, we will use natural language processing, which is a field under AI. In a nutshell, NLP is used by machines to understand human languages. So all our virtual assistants like Alexa and Siri uses it to understand our voice and text commands and to most probably spy on us. Under NLP is sentiment analysis, which is exactly what we need. There are two main parameters in sentiment analysis, polarity and subjectivity. Polarity determines whether a text is positive, neutral, or negative. Subjectivity determines whether a text is factual or opinionated. For the statement, the sky is blue, polarity is neutral as there is nothing positive or negative about the statement, and subjectivity is mostly factual as obviously the color of the sky changes according to time, or rather whether there is a source of light present outside at the time. But let's not get all Vsauce over it and let's just say it's a true statement. Another example, let's say Emma Watson is bad.
The fuck you say to me, you little shit?
It's just an example, guys. I know she's a good actress. Polarity for this statement is negative. Subjectivity is opinionated as it depends on the context here, whether it is saying that she's a bad actor or a bad person or she's just bad. Now that you understand sentiment analysis, I'm removing the subjectivity parameter to keep it real for our case, because anyone trying to find dirt on you isn't going to see at the subjectivity. On Twitter, the cancel culture doesn't see the context. For them, if something looks bad, it is bad. So now onwards, when I say sentiment, that means just the polarity part of it. To understand how this practically works, let's take a tweet which has both positive and negative sentiments. So here we have a tweet, a love-hate relationship. The tweet is first divided into tokens, and each token is given a sentiment, which is a value between -1 to 1, -1 being most negative, 0 being neutral, and 1 being the most positive. Then a combined sentiment is calculated by summing non-neutral sentiments and dividing it by the number of non-neutral sentiments. So here there are two non-neutral sentiments, love and hate. The combined sentiment will be -0.15. Also, the sentiment value for each word and the formula for total sentiment will differ for different sentiment analysis libraries. Finally, we will perform this analysis for every tweet and sort the list of tweets in ascending order of the sentiments. So the first tweet will be the most negative or the most toxic tweet. And that's it. I've already written the code not once but twice. One is in JavaScript and one is in Python. Both of them perform the same function but use different sentiment analysis libraries. JavaScript is using sentiment.js and Python is using TextBlob. Both of them are available on my OnlyFans. The link is in the description. Finally, let's see the results. First, the JavaScript one. My most toxic tweet. Bruh. Hell of a song though. This has a sentiment value of -0.8 and the only sentiment is from the word hell. So this is a reply to my own tweet. Thanks for reminding me I'm a loner, which is about a song by Kali Uchis, which is a good song indeed. But this is my most offensive tweet. Let's look at the second most offensive tweet. Hell yeah, dude. This is also a reply, but to Swagger Souls and Michael Reeves. And the score is -0.6. Yeah have the positive sentiment of 1 and hell like previously have negative sentiment of -4. Bigger picture here is that Swagger and Michael talked about AI while Swagger was smoking a joint, which was part of his bucket list. This is cool, but this isn't really negative in any shape, way or form. Let's look at the Python results. While storming, please play Cruel Angel Thesis on speakers. So obviously this is regarding the Area 51 raid last year. Cruel Angel Thesis is the theme song of the anime Neon Genesis Evangelion, which is quite a sad anime, dude. Don't watch it. Okay, it's quite a unique anime, but be prepared to watch it if you are going to. These results are so shitty, I have to provide full context to make it even a little bit interesting. The second most toxic one is actually a reply to Elon Musk. So Elon shared a URL x.com which just says why. Hence I replied with the classic review bra meme.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
In case anyone is wondering my most positive tweets, from JavaScript it's a retweet actually of developer. Progress is better than perfect. And from Python it is, if I ever started referring to these as the best years of my life, remind me to slap myself. The JavaScript result is positive, not so sure about the Python one. So guys, we did it. We found my most toxic tweets. More like a cringe compilation. I don't think sentiment analysis is the best technique for this purpose, or at least my implementation, my approach of it wasn't the best. So I did the next best thing, deleted my tweets.